1 minute. Is it this sub-article B, does it encompass all the defined powers of president?
Yes, sir. All powers of the president.
Assuming in the situation, the president is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces.
Yes, Lord.
Can parliament make a law today and say that no, not the president, but some other
He is saying correct. Your lordships are right, Lord.
I agree with the question.
Yes,
That is
but it's very rude to say yes, correct to a judge.
No, sir,
Yes.
Sorry.
I may not agree with Mr. Dushyant Dave in everything, but I agreed with that, my lords. But now, without using the expression which he has used, my lord, that this honorable court has usurped the power of the president. I don't use, my lord, I don't agree with that. Be that as it may, well, that's not the question, my lord, right now for your lordship's consideration. So your lordships are right, my lord, but are vested only on the judiciary. The distinction was some of the powers the constitutional framers thought should be entrusted to the people's representatives chosen by the people who are answerable and accountable to the people every 5 years.
Solicitor, the triggering thought for this is all these reports, law commission, etc., are somehow saying that it needs to be changed. So that is the, we call it a triggering thought.
Correct, my lord. But the triggering thought, my lord, is always welcome. That necessarily, my
So
lord,
whether it's a constitutional thought or
the law or anything develops because of such triggering thoughts. But the question is, which forum will make that change? No, that's essentially the argument we are making. My lord, now kindly take the constitution, my lord. For my satisfaction, I am not repeating, I am, my lord, assisting your lordships in a different perspective. Kindly have, my lord, 324.
Please read. Got it in our mind, yes.
No, my lord, it's always, my lord, a little satisfactory for a lawyer when your lordships have the bare act in hand.
Yeah.
Lord, your lordships may kindly come directly to 2. And the way, my lord, in which, my lord, the sub-article 2 is presented, I have a different perception to that. And your lordships may kindly consider that.
Yeah.
The election commission shall consist of the chief election commissioner and such number of other election commissioners, if any, as the president may from time to time fix, and the appointment of the chief election commissioner and other election commissioners shall. Now, Lord, mark this. Lord, this is the point which consumed your lordship's substantial time. Subject to the provisions of any law made in that behalf by Parliament, be made by the President. My lord, the initial impression, my lord, which one gets, and my lord, it has been given to your lordship, is that President will be the appointing authority. How the appointment is to be made will be made by way of a law as contemplated under sub-article 2. My lord, in my respectful submission, that is a wrong reading of sub-article 2. Thereby, in exercise of the powers under Article 53, sub-article 3b, Parliament can say that this particular power of the President would not be exercised by the President, but would be exercised by some other body. Lord, I hope I am able to make myself clear. 53b is an enabling power conferred upon the legislature, namely the Parliament, that it can, instead of President, invest the power upon someone else. Now, my lord, for my satisfaction, read 324b in this context.
1 minute. Is it this sub-article B, does it encompass all the defined powers of president?
Yes, all powers of the president.
Assuming in the situation, the president is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces.
Yes, my lord.
Can parliament make a law today and say that no, not the president, but some other
He is saying correct. Your lordships are right, my lord.
I agree with the question.
Yes,
That is right.
but it's very rude to say yes, correct to a judge.
No, sir,
Yes,
It's very rude to.
yes, my lord.
Can the commander-in-chief of the three forces
I am reading, my lord, the way it is, my lord. Nothing in this article, my lord, kindly see.
Anyway, that's what,
It
so far
cannot.
as this litigation is concerned, that's possibly
No.
academic, but this
The answer is no. The answer is in the article itself. Please read the article 1, sub-article 1. The executive power of the union shall vest in the president. So what can be delegated by way of a law is the executive power, not any other power. Executive power of the union shall be vested in the president and shall be exercised by him either directly or through officers subordinate to him in accordance with the constitution. Now that executive power,
that is an all-encompassing power.
not when he is the chief of the armed forces, he's not discharging
No, that's a
executive,
specific power,
the
yes.
specific power.
That's-
For example, power of granting pardon, etc. But here, my lord, all executive power, your lordship.
In Article 350.
Yes, my lord, all executive power is coterminous with the schedule. My lord, schedule 1 in list 1 in the 7th schedule. Lord, that is, my lord, now kindly read 324B 2.
Solicitor General, see, 53(1) speaks about executive power.
Correct, my lord.
The executive power of the union government shall be vested with the president to be exercised by him. Now, sub-article 3, which you are referring to, it speaks about nothing in the article shall, which you wanted to read, prevent parliament from conferring by law functions. There is a distinction between powers and functions. The executive power of the union, in the case of, is the head of the, is a head. Whether it is a ceremonial head like the Queen or
Yes,
the King in England.
yes, my lord.
The executive power can be exercised only except in 2 or 3 well-established circumstances. Only on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Now, how the Council of Ministers, who is to be consulted, it's laid down in under Article 77, read in the rules of business.
Correct, my lord.
Correct. So this may not have anything to do with it because we have no difficulty that the president's power has to be exercised.
I'm sorry.
Under 324B, on the basis of the Council of Ministers' advice.
So 324B neither uses the expression power nor function. It says the appointment shall be made by the president.
It's a power. It can only be a power.
That's how your lordships can read it, but it can be read even as a function of the president. And that may perhaps not make any logical difference so far as 3B is concerned.
Yes.
It is that law which is contemplated that unless the power is conferred on someone else, the power will be exercised by the president. It's not dependent upon a legislative power. And I tell you, lordships, the reason. What is the object? There are certain functions.
While interpreting
Can
the
I-
provision, come out what you want to convey properly. Because we find it difficult. If you see 53 once again, and 1 and Article 3 sub clause B again,
Yes, ma'am.
I pointed out to you, something is missing in between. Please see. 1 is exclusive power of the union vests with the president,
Correct, my lords.
or to whom he authorizes. Absolute, no discussion. If you come to 3, nothing is article shall be prevent parliament from conferring by law functions. As you've been told, executive power absolutely with the president. 3 only says functions or authorities other than the president. So if there is any other function which are delegated to authorities other than the president, by virtue of this clause, you can modulate and
Take an example.
take away the power, the functions other than the president, vested with some other authorities.
Take an
But
example.
the president is concerned, we don't think this B has any.
Take an example. Take an example, my lord. Parliament, in exercise of powers under Article 53(3)(b, makes a law that the power or function, whichever nomenclature we may give, under Article 324(2), shall be exercised by a body consisting of A, B, and C. That is permissible. But if that is not there, then the president will have the power to appoint.
That is what is specifically provided in 324B itself. The making of a law by Parliament is contemplated in 324B itself. You don't have to go to the 53B for that. Because also you will see nothing in this article.
Yes, my lord.
53B speaks about nothing in this article.
Correct, my lord. That is one.
One.
One, yes.
We are concerned with a separate chapter of the Constitution, which has a separate scheme. Even in the debates of the Constituent Assembly, initially the provisions relating to appointment of the Election Commission was contemplated as chapter to be included in the chapter on fundamental rights. They attached considerable importance to, so devoted a separate chapter to the Election Commission, dealt with in a standalone provision, then followed by 3-4 provisions which make up the whole chapter. The making of the law by Parliament, if you see the entire discussion, they had a lot of debate of what is going to happen if the president is going to be given the power. So they said somewhere down the line, they expected that, okay, if a situation arises, Parliament may step in. You can argue that, that period has not stepped in because you have got a very efficient setup, people are being appointed. Down the line, they are all very good people.
Yes.
So there is no trigger point. Parliament, it's a matter of wisdom. It's not a matter of legality.
I'm obliged, my lord. I could not bring
And
my
I can
own book,
understand
but
that there is a difference between power and function.
yes, my lord.
See, with respect to appointment, see, for example, the judges, the power is exercised for appointment.
Was
But then,
used to be, my lord.
see, administering ought to the Chief Justice.
But used
It's
to
a
be.
function.
But
It's
used
not
to
the
be
power.
Used to
So
be
there is
exercised.
difference.
My lord, used to be exercised. I don't want to go into that, my lord, controversy, but
So there
our used to be
very
exercised.
carefully these words are used.
And my lord, it is during that exercise of power that we could, that system gave Justice Krishna Iyer and Justice H.R. Khanna. Thereafter, we made a better system, my lord. Recently, there was an article, my lord, yesterday or day before yesterday, where, my lord, some expression was used. I may not agree with Mr. Dushyant Dave in everything, but I agreed with that, my lord. But now, without using the expression which he has used, my lord, that this honorable court has usurped the power of the president. I don't use, my lord, I don't agree with that. My lord. Be that as it may, that's not the question, my lord, right now, for your lordship's consideration. So, your lordships are right, my lord. But, my lord, my respectful submission is, and I leave it at that because that's not a submission, my lord, in vain, submission in air. Your lordship's reading of Article 324b(2), that in absence of any power, how do you exercise the power? My respectful
Power is
submission.
there, no difference. There is no difference.
I'm not. There is nobody says, my lord, there is no power.
Nobody has a case that there is no power. Point is whether
Correct,
it's come to a stage where
But my lord, if there is no methodology of exercise of power prescribed as suggested by them, then, my lord, my respectful submission is that constitutional silence, as, my lord, a good word, my lord, fell from your lordships, cannot be filled in by way of a judicial interpretation. It can be done only and only by the parliament.
Okay.
That's, my lord, the position. My lord, now, yesterday, my lord, during the discussion, my lord, there was some debate as to whether presence of someone who is, my lord, I would say non-executive person. My lord, your lordships are aware, my lord, the separation is very clear. Judiciary, executive and legislature. There is a theory of doctrine of the doctrine of separation of powers. Lord, your lordships were pleased, my lord, just mull over it, my lord, as a, my lord, loud thinking that maybe the presence of someone else might ensure, as my lord, going by the reports, that things are not messed up. Lord, there I have a serious problem, my lord, as an officer of the court, and please don't take this otherwise. This is my submission as a constitutional proposition, not individuals or institutions, as a constitutional proposition. Lord, constitution makers were very, very clear that some of the powers are vested upon executive and legislature, and some of the powers are vested only on the judiciary. The distinction was some of the powers the constitutional framers thought should be entrusted to the people's representatives chosen by the people who are answerable and accountable to the people every 5 years. That's why, my lord, this separation of powers. One organ will not entrench upon another organ. Second organ will not entrench upon the third organ. That's how, my lord, the balancing system in the constitution functions. Now, my lords, if your lordships were to consider that someone else, the presence of someone else might help the situation. What are the problems? Constitutional problems. I'm not on individuals or institutions for that matter.
Why you're asking someone else? We never proposed someone else.
No, there was a that for example, presence of the Chief Justice of India or some judge of the court, that fell for, as
It is only a kind of a deliberations going on.
no,
Someone else.
therefore,
We
I,
never said someone else.
if that was deliberation only and not going to materialize
There's
in,
only a deliberation going on.
Yeah.
Nothing. Someone else you have come.
then I have nothing more to add.
Someone else.
I have nothing more to add.
No, Mr. Virat. According to someone else means whom?
I didn't want to name, but as suggested, that for example,
It's my submission. It's my submission which I've made.
That's correct.
I'll make it clear.
So make a submission.
then let me deal with it. Let me deal with it. His
That is for our
submission.
consumption.
No, absolutely. So I don't want Mr. Mehta to have the impression that we haven't made that. We have made that. I've made that submission.
I'm grateful to my learned friend. Lord, his submission is, let me put it this way, that there should be a presence of someone who is not a part of the executive. That's the submission, and I'm meeting with that submission.
Absolutely.
Did not fall from
That's
it.
also sufficient.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But now, the problem is this. That would necessarily involve a process of rewriting the constitution. That's the first problem.
Correct.
Second, the moment this honorable court says that but for the presence of a non-executive, maybe from the judiciary, but not a part of the executive, the selection would not be proper, would depend upon true presuppositions, which your lordships will presume. A, it is not possible that the executive alone can discharge the functions constitutionally conferred upon it in absence of some outside presence, which negates the very concept of democracy, and democracy is in the preamble. It's a basic structure of the constitution. Executive consists of the people's chosen representatives. If one finds that one representative is wrongly chosen, that's his problem. Democracy works like that. Democracy works, my lord. He has selected one person to take all executive decisions, and your lordship's decision would not, in my respectful submission, be based upon a presumption that but for an outside presence, the executive will not be able to discharge its functions honestly or with transparency.
When you say that, historically, look at what happened in the CBI director's case.
I'll come to that.
Is not the CJI participating easy?
I'll come to that. I'll come to that, my lord.
So the democracy, when you talk about democracy, we don't want to say many things, but we just want to say that our court's history, our judgments, how our courts are approached, how the executive has accepted it also. There's no difficulty about it. CJIs do participate.
I'm not on individuals or institutions.
We are talking about.
I'm on constitutional proposition.
We are talking about. This is also part of democracy. The CBI director, Vigilance Commission, I think CVC. model.
Let me answer that.
So they're also.
Lord, they're the basic. Anything I can do. Appears to be something very interesting, though appears to be privileged communication, my lord.
No, it's just that.
Sometimes, my lord, lighter moments are always.
Like a moment we are discussing, I've got a very lengthy miscellaneous my list on Friday.
No, that's my lord. What the theory we used to, my lord, learn in first year of law. Volunteer non fit injuria, my lord. Yeah, your lordships have taken that injury voluntarily, my lord. Can't be helpful.